start off with the Los Angeles Rams, who worked out a reconstruction deal with Matthew Stafford. So here's the thing. Matthew Stafford wanted a new contract. The rumor was that he wanted $50 million a year, and the Rams were a little hesitant to do that. So they let him search, I guess would be the best way to put it, see if there was anything out there for him on the free agent market. And that was a big story because there were people saying that, oh, the Giants are looking for a quarterback. They currently have no quarterbacks in their quarterback room at all. So it would make sense that the Giants would be looking for anybody, but especially someone like Matthew Stafford. And so the rumor was that they were going to trade for Matthew Stafford, and then Aaron Rodgers would go to the Rams. The Rams would either trade for Devontae Adams or they would just get him if the Jets released him. More on that later in the show. So that was prevailing wisdom for a little bit. Then it came out that Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford ran into one another, totally random, not planned, on a ski trip. And they had some discussions. Obviously, Brady works for Fox, but also a minority owner in the Las Vegas Raiders. Not 100% sure how he can have both jobs without any conflicting interests, but if the NFL's okay with it, I suppose I'm okay with it. But they talked, and then people were saying, oh, well, maybe Stafford will go to the Raiders, and maybe that will kind of make the Raiders more competitive going into next season. They had Gardner Minshew as their starter for a lot of the season this year. Not too great there. They really don't have much in the way of a plan at quarterback in Las Vegas. So people are saying, okay, that makes sense. He goes to the Raiders, and then we can still have Aaron Rodgers and Devonta Adams go to the Rams. But after he was out there, presumably talking to people, seeing what kind of a trade people would be up for in terms of acquiring him, wasn't what he wanted. He decided that he's going to stay in Los Angeles. They restructured his deal, and I think this is a good move. I mean, I think the Rams are a good team. They made the playoffs this year. They're really the only team that gave the Eagles any kind of a challenge in the playoffs. They potentially could have won that game in the snow in Philadelphia. They had the ball at the end of the game going down to score, and they just weren't able to do it. But it would have surprised me, and I even said it at the time, that moving on from him, given everything he's given to the organization, the Super Bowl title in 2021, and the impressive seasons when he's been healthy, it would be very surprising to me for the Rams to just let him go. Obviously, the Rams were somewhat open to that because, his salary demands were too big initially. So they were like, okay, see what's out there. And evidently, what's out there, not terribly enticing for Matthew Stafford. So Stafford will be returning for at least 1 year, probably 2. I do think, as long as Matthew Stafford is playing and playing at the level that he has the last few years, and I have no reason to think he would not play at that level, given everything we've seen from him. It's not like he's someone who necessarily relies on insane athletic ability. Then I think he can continue to keep the Rams in this position of being a contender. Is that a Super Bowl contender? I think yes. Your mileage may vary there on what you think of Matthew Stafford, but I think he's good enough and almost underrated to a point to where he is good enough to give the Los Angeles Rams a chance to beat any team any Sunday. They almost beat the Eagles. The Eagles were obviously the dominant team at the end of the season. They won the Super Bowl in blowout fashion. So ultimately, I think this was a great move for Los Angeles. I think they'll be happy to have Stafford for the next couple of years, and it will give them an opportunity to start the process of seeing who will be the next quarterback for the Rams, because having like a year or two timeline kind of gives you a little bit of a okay, we really need to get it done. We really need to figure out who's going to be next here. So ultimately, I'm happy for the Rams and the Rams fans. If you're a Rams fan and you see this video, I'd love to hear what you think of Matthew Stafford staying in Los Angeles. Are you happy? Were you kind of wanting to move on for whatever reason? I don't know why you would have been, but if there was anything that made you want to move on from Matthew Stafford, I would love to hear about it in the comments down below.